Gail of Gaia and Free Range need your support. The foundation of any channel engaged in disclosure is the support of the listening audience and the intel it receives. You will not find this kind of information on the lamestream media. We abhor censorship, and sponsors always have an agenda. Your donations, no matter how small, are especially needed and appreciated to keep this going. Gail does not have a car. She gets around on her bicycle to get things done. So, her primary need right now is a car that runs and rolls. Nothing fancy, just basic transportation. Gail makes her living by doing temporary jobs, whatever jobs she can find that are close enough to get to on her bicycle. Temperatures in Phoenix right now are around 110 degrees Fahrenheit. One of her better paying temp jobs fell through just last week. These are hard times for the host of Free Range. Any donation, no matter how small, will be greatly appreciated and will keep Free Range rolling. Thank you. Welcome to Free Range. Once again, we have Drake Bailey back, and he's going to go through another question and answer session for us. He's been doing this since March 2019, and it's been pretty much every week. So, as always, get some popcorn ready and buckle your seatbelt because you never know what he's going to say. Here's your host, Gail of Gaia.
We can start out with you telling us more about what's going on.
What is going on?
Geopolitically or galactically or whatever.
Well, the politics got out of the way of the financials so that they could recoup their losses, and they regained, and they're doing all right. If you look at things in a proper perspective, they ain't doing worth squat. The market went back to wherever it was sort of normal, kind of. But the bonds have not rebounded. And that is significant for several reasons. But the primary one is that the credit line is getting thinner, and the central banking system and government can't do nothing about it. And the third part of it is the real fun. Bonds are the keynote, right?
Okay.
The majority of your corporate bonds have failed or are at junk status, meaning that they, what would you do?
Not worth a whole lot? Is that what you mean?
Well, the 10-year bond was the so-called, and I use their term, benchmark. And the problem with that is that their benchmark is floating around in the toilet waiting for somebody to flush it. Pretty much.
Okay. I like how you tell it like it is, Drake.
Well, then you got China acting like they're big and bad. They play games with their money. Well, there's a reason for that. It's called survival. If they had not reduced the value of their currency, oops, in the toilet they go. We'll play that fun toilet game. Will it float?
Oh, wow. Okay. That's why I was wondering why that happened. I saw that. I didn't, I don't follow the financial market very much.
Well, you have to know the basis for what's going on. What's happening is that China's growth went from 8%, give or take, down to 3%, and was beginning to get ready to go to 1%.
Ouch.
And they devalue their currency to pop it back up. Only problem is that it didn't work very well because it only went to about 3.5. And then you got the other problem, and that's all these tariffs that are on their goods. Okay, now everybody says, ooh, the tariffs are making the consumer pay for it. No, it's not working that way. There's a humongous surplus of goods right now waiting to be unloaded, and the reason they're not being unloaded is because of the tariff wars or trade wars or whatever you call it between China and the U.S. And some of the longshoremen have actually refused to touch the Chinese freight containers. Now those boats don't do well sitting still with a load. They have a tendency to sink, among other things. But anyway, that part of it, okay?
Okay.
Then you have the intrinsic problem of finance. And the intrinsic problem of finance is that the more currency or cash you put into the economy, the lesser value it has, meaning that prices go up, but you got enough money to pay for it. What somebody mentioned, and they told them to shut up right quick because it only got mentioned once. That is the repatriation of U.S. dollars as it has supposed to have been happening. Ain't happening. The reason it ain't happening, they don't want to collapse the dollar. So there we got that sticking there. Then you have the European Union. Everybody is in the minus category. I want you to understand this. Minus negative interest rates. That means that if you put $100 in a certain bank, you only got 99 to play with. They take $1 just for the convenience of putting it in their system. Okay. Then you have the third problem, and that is that there are some people who are resisting the global currency reset. Oops. That basically would improve a combination of things. One, it would take the debt load off of the true values and reinitiate those values as equity rather than debt. Big difference.
Yes.
Okay. So, and I posted this all over the place. Kaiser Report had a thing about us running out of time. Okay. And the time reflection is how long it takes for certain things to either go up, down, sideways, or whatever they're going to do. The interesting thing is that, and this is global, the global markets, excepting the United States, are generally either stagnant, and there's only just a few of those, or more than likely in some form of recession. Now, the thing that everybody is scared to death of, everybody remembers the crash of 1929 and the fact that the Great Depression took a whole bunch of years to rectify. One reason it took so long, they had it pretty well set up in 32.
Yeah, weren't the bankers responsible for that?
Well, yeah, but the other part of it is that they turned around and did the same exact stupid thing again, expecting different results.
That sounds like them. I said that sounds like them.
Okay. Are you sure it sounds like them?
Well, they usually fund both sides of the war too, don't they?
Well, in an offhanded sort of way, they provide monies to a certain side so that it can buy bombs and bullets and whatnot, and then they credit the other side so that they're in debt for 100 years. Yeah, it works real well. I mean, they get paid twice for the same bullet. Works pretty good. Okay. Now, there are several things going on. I was told by ET not to worry about it. I said, what are you out of your mind? Well, yeah, that was the response I got. They started giggling. I said, what's the matter with you people? You know what kind of fun and games, stress, and horse hockey we're going through down here?
No, they don't. I don't think they do.
They do. They said they did. They were sitting right here watching. I said, come on down and let me introduce you to how pigs live, and you get an idea as to what the poor people are going through, which is 70% of the population of the planet.
Yes, I just had a friend of mine call and telling me that they just got evicted out of their place and they're homeless. Yeah. I mean, it's just happening to far too many people.
Yeah. Okay, so what you have is, and that what you're talking about is a little bit different than what I'm talking about, but it eventually equates to the same thing.
Yeah.
You have had corporations in buying real estate as investors. They want to get the real estate for free so that they can charge exorbitant amounts for rents or whatever.
And they already do that.
Well, in LA right now, a one-bedroom efficiency is $3,700 a month.
Oh my God, that's ridiculous.
Yeah, but you ain't added any utilities and stuff yet, you know?
Yeah. And the new brand, stainless steel new appliances. And then they get to charge an extra $500 a month that people can't afford. I said, I'll take a place without those appliances. I can live without them.
I'll get the rehab ones down at the local general store.
Yes.
If you want to get appliances that, you know, if you're going through is this one going to last? Because I don't have the money to do this twice or whatever. Okay, but then you have the problems with Trump not understanding what's going on well enough to express it the correct way, and the Dems all going crazy. He's guilty. Can't you see? Look at that hair. He's got to be guilty of something. You know, that sort of thing.
Yeah, it's just ridiculous.
Okay, well, then you have these people trying to back it up. And you can go into any of it. The problem is that the mass arrests are about to take place. The trusts, and I mean the big ones, are getting ready to open up. Now, that does not mean that they're going to give everybody a big pot full of money. What it means is that people who do things that are conducive to a decent society will be given funds necessary to have a place decent enough to have what they need in the way of like say a studio or, you know, extra bedroom, however it works. The true humanitarian part of it is people that don't have floors in their house probably should have one.
Yeah, that would be nice. A roof over your head is real nice. You know, it's one of those hierarchy of needs.
Yeah, but you always know what the weather is, you know, wet or dry. I mean, pretty quick. The other thing is that the basic needs need to be met. Now, I mentioned shelter. Well, shelter can be just about anything, derived real quickly and made semi-permanent if you do it right, okay? However, people have several basic needs. 1, food. 2, water. Number 3, a manner in which to obtain those 2. Okay, and it don't matter if it's individual, don't matter if it's, you know, group or whatever. But okay, the ETs, as I said, they laughed at it, but I'm not beyond taking the galactic ambassador and rolling that sucker in the mud in a pig pen. I'm famous for that sort of thing. So what I've offered is, look, you know, contact me, let me know what you think should be done. Because you're still sizing up they're still sizing it up, but they've sort of got an answer and they think it may be correct. I said, well, it depends on where you apply and what you apply. And I told them, I said, all you gotta do is just give me a call. They got my phone number and a bunch of other stuff, but the gist of it is that it will assist them in terms of the correct application. You have people in third world countries who are starving to death. Yes. Well, guess what? We got the same freaking thing right here in the United States, richest country on the planet. What the hell's wrong with people? Hey, Schumer. Hey, Pelosi. Hey, come on. Let somebody wake up, Booker. I mean, you know.
Yeah.
I hear all the flappity with the gums. And if you tickle an alligator, it'll do that. So, you know.
They've been so wealthy for so long that they cannot relate to the average person or someone who's homeless. Their attitude is, well, just get a job. Well, how can a person get a job if they don't even have shelter or food to eat?
Yeah. If you get a job, you can't work because you're not physically capable of getting up and going. Yeah, I know what you mean. So you're going to have a very short period of gratis, and I don't know how short that will be. That would depend on a combination of things. One is the individual, and the second is what they are looking to do as employment or their accomplishment or whatever. You're going to have a definitive working program of support the person to the point where they become functional again. Then, as you feed and water the plant, you get results, and you do so. You don't expect a heck of a lot the first few days or first week or so. When they start getting used to it, bingo. Then you can start expecting things like, hey, I want you to I want you to try to go do this. Really? Yeah, I know it's hard, but give it a shot, see what you do. They go at it the right way. They work their butts off trying to accomplish it. And whether they really get it totally done or not is not as important as the other two. The person's willing to give whatever, as much as they got to accomplish something. That means that internally they feel the same way about themselves. Well, in order to build confidence, you give people assignments that they can complete. Business work or BS, however you want to look at it. Okay. Then you start challenging them. You make those assignments a little bit more difficult where, you got that capability and the talent. I want to see if you can do such and such. And I go, and you work with it and build on it from there. So we're about to see what everybody's made of in terms of offering full employment to anybody that wants it.
Here's an issue that I think of when you say that. I know that I think there's plenty of people out there that are more than willing to work and work hard. But at the same time, they can't work 24/7 in order to pay for an apartment to live in.
Well, this is what I'm trying to say. The other part, and this is the part that never gets mentioned on mainstream media or even in on shows such as this one, it's about to be. There's several things that need to happen. First of all is cost control. And when I say cost control, I mean the rents, the food, etc. Okay. The second thing is that, no, we're not going to pay $500 an hour so that you can afford $3,700 a month. Doesn't work that way. But you can impose the cost controls on a corporation that creates or causes an emergency situation, such as the pooper scoopers that are working 7 days a week in LA, trying to keep up with you think dog stuff.
The mess.
Think about big piles from, my fat brother-in-law ate a bunch of greasy nachos. And it's trying to eat a hole in the concrete over there.
Oh my God. I'd rather not picture that in my mind, okay?
But what I'm saying is that they got say 3 sets of portalettes. That's 3 or 4 a piece. Okay, let's say there's 4 a piece. You got 4 sets of them. How many is that? 16. And you got 1,300 people that got to take a dump. They ain't going to take very long to fill them up, is it? Well, so you cannot address the issue by sidestepping the truth of it. Okay, and the truth of it is that these turkeys with the money, they went in and they bought the cheapies, and
yes,
and put the chromated kitchen in and the high velocity shower and all this other happy stuff. And now, instead of having something, say $1,200-1,500 a month, I can understand that from a standpoint of being in a city, not necessarily downtown, but in a city. But $3,700 a month, ain't no way. You can have 3 families, 6 people minimum, working 6 days a week, and the only thing they could afford would be the rent. So the cost have to be implemented the hard way. Corporations don't like it, fine, leave. It's real simple. I mean, and when you create a combinational emergency of that nature, the local and or state and or federal can tell the corporation exactly what I just said. Give you an example. We have a thing called Google and Facebook and Twitter and etc. Now, Twitter just cut McConnell's account off for the simple fact that he took a live video of people wanting to kill him out front of his house and put it up as, through his campaign website. He put it on Twitter. Twitter says, that's hate speech. Well, maybe you should explain that to the turkeys that are standing on the sidewalk out front of my house, telling me I'm a rotten whatever, and offering to kill me, roast my kids, and all that. That's hate speech. Well, yeah, and look who's doing it. Well, they cut his account. They should have gone down the line, identified each one of them turkey butts that was out there talking about screwing you up with a fence post or something. They should have got all of their accounts, all of their social accounts, not just one. Twitter, Facebook, you name it. Cut them all off. And when you do that and they can't get back, that might get the message across that this is a no-no. So we got all this stuff going on. Anyway, so I got ET to laughing when I offered to roll the ambassador in a pigsty mud. Well, they could just use all the whiz and defecation, getting all squizzed up in his clothes and whatnot. He's a sharp dresser, by the way. Very finicky, being clean.
Okay.
Wears white gloves just because. Okay. And he's looked at me, and the sergeant at arms of the meeting, which they have, it's not called that, it's different, but same difference. Sergeant at arms of the meeting says, not only is he like that, but he's telling you the truth. You might want to listen. Oh, the ambassador about had a baby right there. And, well, then there were about 10, give or take, officials from other planets that were saying, hey, he's not kidding. We went down to the surface and it's nasty. Now, I don't know if they landed in the hood in LA or met the Crips on the street or what the deal was happening. Oh, we met some fine fellows. They spoke Spanish. They said they were MS-13. Okay. So
there's a reason why people get that way.
Yeah, well, so anyway, the majority of the galactics, who are the ones that are primarily handling the our situation, understand what's going on, and they know for a fact that, for one thing, I ain't gonna lie to them. I just don't care about what their feelings are. I don't care about how they take it. If I tell them that they're a screw up, they are. And they begin to realize that I am sort of like that, and I can discern truths that they never had any clue I could get to.
Mm-hmm.
So anyway, so the galactics are looking at this, getting more and more antsy, getting more and more observant, let's say,
Mm-hmm.
and are really looking to help. Expect that very, very soon. Okay?
Well, humanity needs it. They really do. This is no joking around. It's getting serious and it's getting ugly.
Yeah, but some of the intervention is not going to be pretty either. They have a thing called a zapper, because that's basically what it sounds like. Zap.
What they going to zap?
Us.
Why? For what?
If you're in MS-13, you need to be zapped.
Oh,
they're going to burn off certain portions of anatomies that you don't want to get that hot. Number one. Number two.
There's some people that deserve that. I'm sorry.
They're going to offer to continue to do that for as far as that person can run, just because they deserve it, and they're not paying attention. They refuse to listen, and I'm MS-13. Well, there's an answer to that. You pull out your gun and you go, bye-bye, boom. Well, E.T. doesn't go boom. They go bzzz. Well, similar to Star Trek, you've seen the zappers they got on there, phasers they call them. They have phasers, disruptors. Let's see here. What the hell is it? And basically a projector. Now, projectors, that's high level. What a projector does is you actually dial in on a keypad, and it'll tell you, it'll show you a map. You get the longitude and the latitude, and figure out a point, pull the button, pull the trigger, whichever, and it will project an atomic explosion to that coordinate. Ooh. They had one on Star Trek.
Can they disintegrate stuff?
What? phasers and things like that. Yeah.
Well, no, actually, I was thinking about a pile of crap.
Well, no, it'd be ashes.
Okay.
It wouldn't leave that. It wouldn't leave something nice and sticky and warm and all that on and gooey on the sidewalk. You'd have this. You'd have.
No, I meant to make it go away.
Well, that's what I'm saying. If you zap it full strength, you're talking about a pile of ashes, maybe. Depends on the composition of the individual.
Okay.
Anti-therapy protections and it could get real dicey real quick. ET's at the point of view of coming down here and zapping the crap out of a bunch of people if our government doesn't start to mass arrest pretty quick.
Yeah, they've kind of been sitting on their hands, haven't they? Or is there a reason for that?
Well, think about the whole planet. How many people we got on the planet? Out of that, you got 7 billion.
Yeah.
Okay. Out of that, you got maybe lower third doesn't give a shit. They're just trying to eat. The middle third is going, I'd like to have what that boy upstairs has got. And the top echelons are going, oh no, you don't. Stay down there. Get down. Don't try to get up here. You just ain't gonna get here. I'll make sure of that. I will knock you back down the stairs. You are not gonna get into my. I'm doing fine. Keep your hands off of my stack, Jack. It's real simple. Okay. What do you do when you run up against that glass ceiling? The irresistible force meets the immovable object. Mm-hmm. Something's got to give. Something's going to get blown away. Okay, so with respect to that, what is about to happen, and this is going to be pretty soon, a lot quicker than people think. You're going to start finding that the humanitarian efforts have been put in place, funded, and are beginning to happen. Okay, this will take care of the third world existence, both in the third world, second and first world. We have people in London that are starving to death, just like in New York City or all over the planet.
And look at human.
Well, the thing about being human is that people get greedy. The needs will be met, but not the greeds. You can forget the greeds.
Mm-hmm. Did that work all the way up to the top there?
Yeah. Nobody gets left out of any of this. These are going to be the type of all-inclusive things that God-level events show. Remember there was a flood? All God did was pull the plunger out and let the water out of his bathtub. He does the sink, and people don't understand that there was. I mean, they proved it scientifically. There was a flood.
Yeah.
There have been pole reversals. Yep. Multiple ones.
Yes.
That should have destroyed this planet. At one point, some 70,000 ET nuclear devices impacted our planet. I mean, it blew whatever out of everything. Yeah, 70,000. And you're talking each one at about 1 to 500 megatons minimum. Now that would be that 500 megaton is only about the same size, this big around, and about let's see here, it's 4.5 foot long. And they can put 500 megatons worth of boom in that small package. Then they come out with the micros. You take a golf ball. Now think about a golf ball. Think about a 10 megaton bomb, or 5 or 10. Those are the two most common. The 5 looks like a ping pong ball. Okay, the 10 looks like a golf ball in terms of size. They planted them things all over the place. They were going to blow the crap out of every bit of our infrastructure, all of our power grid, etc.
Who did that?
Who was that?
Yeah, who did that?
There's a whole bunch of them that are running for office right now. There's a whole bunch of them that are secretive, and they call it the New World Order and all this other, funny games doing it. I like that song from that British guy that was on the street. You can stick the New World Order up your ass. I like that song. That works. So, the thing that is most prevalent is the combination of setting people up so that they can function again. That's food and water and maybe shelter. It depends on how many people you can get in the garage or whatever. You know what I'm saying?
There are a lot of people out there that could help other people more than they do.
If they had any kind of anything at all to work with, they'd be overjoyed. Well, if we start helping them, then we're going to be the man. We're going to be the ones that run it. We're going to be the ones in charge. The government's going to just fade away into oblivion. What do you need a government for if these people are taking care of the problems? And you guys never did. All you did was take stuff away from us.
Exactly.
We're done with that. So, questions, my lady?
Alrighty then. Okay. We got quite a few of them. Let me see here so I can read. All right. There's quite a variety again. So anyway, the first one I have, and these are from last week, actually, what was left over, okay? So the first question is it true that marijuana or cannabis came from off-planet?
No.
Okay. Hemp was, I did a radio show on hemp one time, and it's a pretty amazing plant.
Yes.
And it's very, you can make so many things out of it. It's incredible. It could have been a $50 billion industry, but thanks to a few nefarious people, like DuPont.
Guess what's going on in West Virginia?
They're growing it?
They're beginning to grow hemp big time.
Yeah. You know what? People don't realize. Henry Ford made a car out of it, the entire car. He took a sledgehammer and hit the car, and it didn't even make a dent. Yeah. And then he could fuel it, and the upholstery was all made out of it. They make ropes, they make textiles, they make hempcrete. It's amazing. And it was when they made marijuana, which they came up with that word, they made it all illegal. So
well, you got two varieties, okay? One straight up hemp, and the other one the prodigious hemp. The regular hemp is the kind that you're talking about. You make whatever you want.
All kinds of stuff out of it.
And the other one you want to put on the heater so that it gets real nice and hot and smoldery. Then you can snort it. If you ever see a car in the wintertime, it's got smoke coming out the window, and you see the driver just driving along, he's just happy and nobody's doing anything. Now you know how they're doing it.
Okay. Alrighty then. What's the average time spent in 4D learning to advance to 5D? And the same question for 5D to 6D.
Okay. First of all, you're going to learn the parameter of what you came out of in terms of how it really works. Then you're going to learn what 4D it really is. Now, 4D is sort of a intermediate condition. It's schooling. It's a whole bunch of different things in combination. Used to be it was safe to just pop into 4D from 3 without a problem. What with the pirates and soul traps and vampiricals and all these other nasties occupying a chunk of 4D, instead of being in the lower portion of 4D, we're going to be in the higher portion, meaning that we will be safe for one, and secondly, we'll have time. We'll have the best instructors, and we'll have time to actually assimilate the knowledge given. Some people will go faster than others. Some will go slower. What they will do is they will take the slowest and the fastest and look at the ones in the middle. That'll be your time frame. General time for, well, and you also have to understand, if they're not psychically or spiritually active, that's the first thing that they learn how to do. And they got to practice until they become an adept. When that happens, then they can join regular classes. So you're going to have a general group that's going to lead in terms of the schooling itself. Okay, then you're going to have some that are way advanced of it. They already been there, done that, and know what to do. They'll go right into 5D pretty quick. Okay. Then you get the central group. Like I said, it's going to take a certain specific time to take a majority of the population of the planet and move them along. Then you get the stragglers. You get the people that refuse the ideologies, want to argue about everything, or other forms of idiocy. And those people, they'll straggle through. They'll come through, but it might take them 20 years to get to the point where, oh, now I see what you're talking about, you know.
Ding, ding, ding.
Right. You missed that trolley.
Okay. So some of the people will be mentored, so to speak,
You're going to have
classes.
Well, you're going to have classes, but you're going to have mentorings pretty much by everybody. In other words, that is about a tenth of the number of ETs circling our planet right now.
Oh, okay.
They
Cool.
can actually take shifts. They're going to wear us out.
Well, let me some people here that'll wear them out. You wait.
Yeah. So when we become adept, then we need to figure out how to pick on them a little bit.
Yeah. Okay. What happens to all the space, planets, nebulas, and galaxies between 2 points when you're folding space? When you're folding space for space travel?
When I'm doing bending space.
Yeah, that's what they mean. Folding. They said.
It's not it's a folding.
Okay.
They don't go anywhere. They sit there.
They
just sit there and watch. For want of a better term, what you're doing is you're going from this point over here to this point over here, and it's 5,000 light years. Hey, you know, the generations in between, somewhere over in here, just off the surface of this one, are going to forget what they were trying to get to over here. They won't even remember. Okay, so what you do is you fold space-time to a point where they make contact. Because you're attached over here, what you do is you release that contact and you attach yourself over here. Then you allow the thing to blossom back out to whatever normalcy was. So you just traveled 5,000 light years in a matter of an hour and a half, 2 hours. Generally, in the old school, it took around 4 hours, irrespective as to the distance, and they've improved on things.
Isn't it true that we just think in terms of light years because that has to do with how we see light, and it can be done faster than that.
The fastest speed is the speed of thought.
Okay. Yeah, I thought there was faster speeds. I don't know how that works, but
let me give you a quick example. Close your eyes, get a picture of a place you've been, and imagine yourself there. Bingo. Think about traveling like that. Nah, that's pretty quick.
No, I like that.
Yeah.
I like that a lot. Okay. What happens to, that wrong question. Is there a set number of quote, real humans with the God spark? And when we pass this test tube in 5D, will we be making more with new babies?
Do what?
It didn't make sense. Is there a set number of real humans with the God spark? In other words, are there people that don't have the God spark? Is what they're saying.
Yeah, there are clones out there that don't have that. Okay. You've got everything else. And what's interesting is that they are considered, because of their intellect, and their self-awareness, they're considered a sentient being. They just don't have the spiritual connection that completes the process. That can be given to them, by the way. So, okay. And what was the next part of that question?
It said when we are past this test tube in 5D, will we be making more God spark with new babies?
It's going to stay about the same in both 4 and 5. Now in 4, you're going to be too busy to worry about that. Oh, you can have plenty of sex. Don't get me wrong about that. But it's not the type of importance that it had and has had in 3D. Then when you go to 5D, physicality becomes a lot lesser of a concern than the spiritual. So you're slowly graduating and advancing yourself. Okay.
Okay. All right. Now this is kind of a long question. We're going to have to ask people to shorten their questions instead of telling a story. But anyway, here we go. Why are ETs, yourself included, so lackadaisical as it relates to people not telling the truth and or spreading fear porn.
We're not.
Okay. And it goes on. Freedom of speech and believe it or not, as you so choose, should only go so far when it comes to deliberate lies, fear porn, and toxic ideologies being spread. How are people ever supposed to figure out this stuff and not live in fear when we have people out there spewing known disinformation like we're selling our... Oh boy, I know where this is coming from.
Let me interrupt and interject.
Okay, good. Thank you.
It's a lot easier than the question. Okay.
Thank you.
Trying to ask it is not easy in any way, shape, or form. Okay. When we transition to 4D from 3, several things will take place just because of the transition. Bear in mind and really think about knowing what the other person wants, what they're up to, how they intend to go about it, and whether or not they're good or bad. Just knowing it. Okay, think about that. Now, in the classes, you learn how to put those particular aspects on steroids. So you end up with King Kong discernment. You can take the strength of that and combine it and put it into practice. The nice thing about 5D is you can't lie to anybody anymore.
Oh, wow. Good.
Well, here's the deal. Somebody that makes their living that way, all of a sudden is going to be flipping burgers or something somewhere. Just exactly that. So go from there.
Cool. Okay, these poor people and kids who are the victims of mind control and other abuses like pedophilia, can they ever or never be helped, even with the ET's biospheres or something similar?
They'll be helped. The problem, there's 2 problems with everything. You can learn to be an expert in whatever. You can experience things that you'd much rather forget. Being an active part of what you've experienced puts you in a real funny situation. There's a movie called Hunted, and I recommend people watch it for the simple fact that this guy has become a killing machine. He was MK Ultra. He was all of the psychological efforts that you can think of in terms of a candidate up to date. Okay, take this one step further.
Hang on once. Go ahead, Greg. I just got to answer a question here.
Okay, so what you have is someone who supposedly, now by our standards, can't be cured of the problem. He has the capability of curing that problem. Now that does not mean you're going to forget being tortured, whether it's pedophilia or literal physical torture where they set you on fire or something. You're not going to forget that. But there's a program very similar to the one that I have on AmericanNationalMilitia.com that deals with PTSD is what the ETs use for an individual. They introduce them to the program, they give them the particulars, give them written materials that they instruct them how to go about all of it. And what it does is it gives you control. I don't freak out when a gunshot goes off. I don't lose my cool anymore. I don't have flashbacks. I very rarely have dreams anymore. But it's all just right there, just under the surface, like like an alligator. All you see is the 2 eyeballs, and he's scoping you out, waiting for you to punch. Okay, that is sort of a good description of PTSD. Some people are more prone to it than others. Some are totally immune to it because that would be their middle name, PTSD. Oh, I'm all messed up. Give me a gun or a knife, and I'll show you what it's going. When you've gone through that stuff, you don't forget it. Never goes away. All right. Anybody who says it does is a liar. To include all the psychologists and psychiatrists on the planet. The thing about it is that it has to be treated within 10 days of coming off the battlefield. If you're not treated within 10 days of coming off the battlefield, and treated in such a manner that not only do they realize the falsies involved, the will-o'-the-wisps, the ghosts, and all of the happy haunting stuff, but also how to grab that ghost and wad him up in a little ball and you're done.
There you go.
Okay. He doesn't go out. But you keep for people in the military who experience this, I recommend a footlocker with a lock on it. You unlock that sucker, you stuff it in there, you slam the lid on its fingers, and you lock that sucker tight.
Reminds me of a story I used to tell my kids about the monster in the closet, slamming the door on them.
It's going to grinch out. You better get in bed.
Well, it's just why we need to stop war. Nobody should have to deal with that.
Okay.
It's sad. Okay, is your Earth family Q's too, or is it just you?
What are you talking about? Choosing me?
Is your family, everybody in your family, a Q, or is it just you?
No, it's just me. Everybody in my family was abducted, implanted, and modified, including me. I broke the, they call it a paralysis condition. You feel you're sleeping in bed, and all of a sudden you feel like you want to move. And you can move your eyes around and look, and you can try as hard as you want, and you ain't moving.
Can't move.
Yeah. That's a paralysis condition, and that's what they use to take people, say from the bedroom or whatever, take them to the ship, do whatever their thing is, and bring them back again. Well, the little funny looking thingamabobs picked on the wrong kid. I had learned from my mother some things, and I had to give it a try because I was tired of these little funky mothers jabbering their silly stuff. Not talking to me, they're talking to each other. Ding ding and all this horse shit. My mother had explained that in Zen Buddhism, anything that you are capable of understanding and applying becomes the vision that you see and becomes your reality through the force of will. So I took everything I had, right down to my heartbeat, my stinky toes, everything, and put it all in one big whoosh. And I broke their paralysis. They dropped me. That's what woke Mom and Dad up. So you got about half a dozen of these little jabbery mothers running like hell for the front door. Now, they're not opening the door. They're shooting through it. Zing, 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 zing. And I'm on the floor going, ooh, my head. I mean, I landed flat, right? And I'll think about that. Landing flat, that hurts.
Ouch.
Yeah.
Wow.
So Mom says, what happened? I said, you tried to wander off with me, and I did what you said. That worked. What do you mean? Well, I was paralyzed, and all of a sudden I broke free of it. And I did. I don't know what it did to them, but they dropped me. So that's what you're doing laying on the floor. That's what that big thud was. Yeah. And there's nothing in the hallway, just outside my room, that I could climb up on and jump from 4 foot. I wouldn't want to. But anyway, they went out the front door. Now, my mom and dad wasn't quite sure about that. My mother said, okay, I understand what happened, and I believe you. My dad looked at me and said, yeah, well, I'll see what kind of evidence I can find. In other words, he didn't really fully believe me.
He didn't believe you.
You ought to see what passing through solid objects does with certain kinds of pain. About 5 or 6 little silhouette things on the front door, where these guys had ching right through the door. Well, it showed up in the paint outside, and it just painted the door the day before, so it was fresh paint, and it took the image and kind of it was more or less a ghosty, like an outline kind of thing.
Wow.
He said, son, do you know anything much about paint? I said, no, sir. Yes. And he said, come here and look at this. You ain't gonna believe it. And go around and look. They are the right size and dimensions, a whole bit. got big heads and spindly bodies, and there's about 6 of them, 8 of them, something like that. They went through the door. Choo, 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 choo. Okay, when they did, they left their image in the paint. My dad, okay, son, now I can believe you. How long has E.T. been screwing with you? We had
Wow. Wow. That's
fun.
wow. All I can say is wow. Now,
My parents were abducted, modified, implanted, and returned before my sister and I were conceived. They first tried my sister, and she didn't work out too well. They figured they'd try me, and they tried me, and I sort of, well, I've been kind of a little brother problem to ET ever since.
small wonder.
Yeah.
Wow. So that was probably the little grays or the tall grays?
Greens.
B.
Greens.
Oh, greens. Oh, greens. Okay.
Greens, yeah.
Interesting. Okay.
What else?
Next one. On a previous show, you said there are other planetary societies comprised of only one gender. Then you were asked, how does a society propagate itself when there's only one gender? And you said they don't. That requires a male and female. Would you please elaborate on it? Because that doesn't make any sense.
Okay, well, if you want to see an interesting movie, look at the movie Enemy Mine. This guy is pregnant, and the human that he's with says, how'd that happen? And the other guy is grinning and laughing. He says, I don't have any idea. Nobody knows. Now, some reptilians propagate without male and female. So when you get into some of the reptilian areas, you're going to find that to be more common than everybody thinks.
Mm-hmm.
Whereas we have to have the male and the female, etc.
Okay. All right. Regarding these mega bombs that decimated the Sahara Desert and other areas, is that a safe weapon unlike our current nuclear bombs?
Not when it destroys things to that level, no. There's no more safe than any other kind of either implosion or explosion. It's just a different kind of energy. It does basically the same thing. It melts silicon and turns it into green glass. Ours melts silicon and turns it into a sort of a yellowy color. Then if you want to look up some of it and really enjoy yourself, classified, so I hope your security clearance is up to snuff. Look up Vaseline glass. That is a fun one.
Vaseline glass?
That's what it's called, Vaseline glass.
Okay, I never heard of that one before.
Yeah, I will hear a lot of things from you ain't heard before.
Yeah, well, I'm not into bombs anyway. I don't like them. But,
Okay.
you know, speaking of bombs, I've got this question. We have an awful lot of nuclear power plants, and I think they're awfully dangerous, especially during earthquakes.
It doesn't matter. They're just dangerous inherently.
Yeah.
Nuclear, okay?
Can we get rid of them?
Well, in the ET world, nuclear anything is forbidden. Period.
That makes a lot of sense to me.
Well, there's other ways to tap into power that's a lot greater than nuclear ever thought about being, and doesn't require any moving parts. Think about that very carefully. No moving parts. You're not burning anything or whatever. All you're doing is tapping into, and it is such a large amount of power. Some of the ET ships are equipped to use it, focus it, and actually turn planets into big globs of dust. Okay.
Wow. Well, isn't that what the asteroid belt is, a planet that used to be?
Yeah, now that was a natural occurrence caused by interference with another planet. Well, it's not exactly a planet. It's sort of like a large moon. And what happened was that somebody screwed with it. Its orbit changed. When its orbit changed, it ran dead into another one.
Boom. Oh, wow.
Speed, you're talking 25 to 50,000 miles per hour, minimum. Usually it's per second.
Okay. Hang on, I need to close this door. My son didn't close it.
Are we having fun yet? Cool.
Sorry about that.
He's got kids.
Unfortunately, we're squished into a little one bedroom here. But anyway,
Next question.
next question. Did the Pleiadians, Arcturians, and other positively aligned ETs have to endure a situation like we're going through here?
Yes, at one point in their development, everybody does. You start out at 1, progress to 2 rather rapidly, and then progress to 3 if you're, let's see here, qualified enough. And 3D can last forever.
We get trapped in this one, don't we?
Well, if you screw it up in terms of transitioning, you get to go another, see, what is it, 25920 years, progression of the equinoxes. Then you get to try again.
Oh, I don't want to do anymore. I've had enough. I've had enough.
We're working unbelievably well in the right direction. So it's going, that right direction is going to start snowballing. Pretty soon the squeaky wheels of certain politicians they're going to just tell them, hey, shut up, or else. And the or else ain't very nice, so I guarantee you they will button their lip, their mouth shut, okay? This was done, and I mentioned this on the last show.
Yeah.
About on my show about the 4 horsemen of the apocalypse being told to shut up, and I haven't heard a lot. You know.
Gee, I know who you're talking about. Okay. What do people see out their windows while traveling through the folding of space?
Nothing.
Okay, that's a easy answer.
First of all, the windows are closed. Secondly, the capability of perceiving it is also closed unless you're a member of a certain specific group that takes the action, actually does it. And if you wish to do that, it takes quite a few years of schooling. So there it is.
Okay, is it anything like what they show on Star Wars or Stargate while traveling through hyperspace? That's assuming you've seen that.
Yes and no. The only problem with either one is that they're not truly accurate in terms of what you would perceive if you were traveling. You got lineal time, okay, which we perceive as a straight line.
Uh-huh.
The differential here is that you have a timeline, or that line that you're talking about, coming towards you, and you're going past it. Now, you're either coming head on, or you're exceeding its capability to keep up with you. Either way, you're not exactly in the fold well enough to be able to see what the hell's going on. At the very instant you initiate a specifically, they call it hyperdrive, you get that instant flash of all the stars going zzz, and then it disappears. Goes to nothing, just like the screen outside my screen here is black. All this around us is black. Okay, this is where the sensors and things of that nature come in terms of that. As far as a wormhole goes, you may get glimpses of the cosmos as you travel through it or across it or whatever direction you're going. Wormholes are not recommended because they're, first of all, unstable. That means it could just you'd be traveling along, and it just sort of goes.
I've heard that.
That's harder. Have you ever seen somebody get a fly or a mosquito? Gotcha. Well, guess what? Wormholes will do the same damn thing. And or the other one, and this is really a mother. The wormhole is fine, and you're zipping along to it, and all of a sudden it just sort of vaporizes. Now, just exactly where the hell are you at?
Oh.
They had movies and whatnot about Lost in Space. Well, there you go.
Hence the name. Okay.
Yeah.
All right. Several times you alluded to the oath of service you took to defend the United States Constitution against all enemies, foreign and domestic, and how it didn't have an expiration date. How do you reconcile that against what you're advocating for post-transition?
It's very simple. I'm still in service. The service differential comes from E.T. E.T. contacted the Indians, who wrote it down, who refined it, and we come along and borrowed it, and we call it our Constitution. The Constitution applies universally. So in terms of ideology, it's most applicable to planet Earth, yes, but a lot of it, and I'm talking about a majority of what it stipulates in terms of the principles in it, are universal.
That's why Native Americans in particular are much more accepting of the whole idea of ETs and extraterrestrials and all that sort of thing. And
Well,
we've done
a lot of them were brought here by ET, for one. Number two, they have regular dealings with them. But the third, this is the neat part, our physicality has limitations, such as who owns land. The Indian says, well, the Great Spirit owns it. Then, wait a minute, I thought this was your reservation. I thought you owned it. No, we're just passing through. What happens if we get a new owner? Are they going to come along and try to dig it all up and take it with them? I don't think so. Very simple.
a lot of Indians refer to it as concentration camps.
Yep.
Anyway, such disservice. But anyway, okay. All right. It sounds like in the world that the U.S. as we know it would no longer exist. For example, no more president or Congress, but the current bureaucracy that seems like a cesspool of corruption will be in charge. I must admit, this makes me very nervous. Can you please explain the differences and why we should be willing to go along with it?
Yeah, you can forget the crooks. Those guys will either be rehabbed. ET has some really remarkable technology in the area of rehab. If necessary, they'll rewire your brain so that you work right. So
because they got warped somewhere along the way.
Yeah, you get dropped on your head, they can fix it. Much. The interesting part about this is that they have very few whom are uncreated and sent back to the great. You got a pool of soul life, that's your personality and all that, and you got another one that's spiritual, and you dump back in, and they mix it all up. And so let's take a little bit of, let's see, no, you don't want that part there, you want this, okay. And they harvest, I don't know what it is, thimbleful or whatever, of each, and dump it into you. And as they dump it into you, and I'm talking about this physical form, you become a living soul. And after that, then you are supposed to search out within yourself, that's inside the spiritual connection that you know that you have. You're just having trouble finding the plug.
Where is it?
Yeah. And we'll be good to go. So.
All right. Also, there's more to this question. How do you reconcile that against your ire with Hannity, Mark Levin, and the rest? Aren't you both trying to fundamentally change this country into something else?
No. The ideology of non-interference means that ET is not allowed to direct the condition and existence of the entities they run across, be they human or whatever. They are superior in terms of knowledge, in terms of technology, but the morality is basic. Believe it or not, as you shall choose. Freedom of will. You Okay. The second part of it is how far and to what extent and to what direction would you like to advance yourself? Okay. That question will be posed to countries, individual countries first. And when everybody sorts it out and decides, oh, we want to do this, we want to accomplish this, that, and the other thing, ET is going to play games with them, bring them all together, representative of each country, that's 180 some countries, and say, I want everybody to read this. About 4 or 5 pages. And it says pretty much, what about this? What's this about? Well, it's very simple. Guess what everybody on the planet decided they wanted? Really? Yeah. You mean the Ayatollah ain't going to be beheading people? And you got it. So so what you have to look forward to is several things. Be living as long as you can. That's 1,800 years. Be prosperous. Okay, in that effort. And you don't screw with nobody. Nobody screws with you. It don't get much better than that, especially, and this is the icing on the cake, you get to do something you really love to do.
The pursuit of happiness.
Yes. So.
Oh, what a concept, right?
Yeah.
Well, it just seems like, I don't know if ET realizes it or not, but our free will has certainly been screwed with by all the chemicals and all the Wi-Fi and...
Are you sure?
Yeah, I would say. Anyway, okay, next question. These twins of ours that you referred to, are they here on Earth with us? Remember when you spoke about having an identical twin and you actually saw you?
Yeah, most are. There's a few that are not. They're different places, but yes. And if you really desire it, you have to do this in the dream state. But if you really desire it, you can sort of pass close enough to get a good enough look to say, wow, man, that's me, and he's walking the other way. Ain't this cool?
Well, then they ask, is that a copy or is that a clone?
No, that is a real, honest to goodness, God spark, homegrown human.
Okay. Well, this I kind of answered the question. Is it really a total and complete duplicate of us from the flesh to the spirit, or just the same flesh suit with a different person inside?
Okay, now, not a duplicate. You look exactly the same, but your personality can be 100% different.
Ah, okay. That's good to know. All right.
But it's disconcerting as hell when it comes off by accident. You don't get no forewarning, and all of a sudden there you are walking by each other, and I mean, your chin hits the floor.
A real jaw dropper.
Oh,
and a double take. Did I just see what I saw?
Well, they're doing the same thing to you. So what the hell?
I bet. Oh, my goodness. What is the purpose of this?
Of what? The doubles?
That's what they're saying, yeah.
That's a good question. I haven't asked anybody about it. I was just awestruck when it happened to me. And I've been, to be quite honest, I've been really, really busy working with ET. So I have not asked.
Okay.
Purpose? Well, the multiverse says that you got however many multiverses. Now, it's multiple galaxy, all right? Not really multiverses. Each certain strings of galaxies have individual entities that look like you. You might want to take a look at the movie I Shall Be the One. Jet Li stars in it, and it's one of the best relative movies I've seen along those lines.
Wow, okay. What if a duplicate commits a crime?
They'd probably slap it. Well, depending on what it is, they'd probably lock it up.
Could be a problem, eh?
It wouldn't have anything to do with us. Now, I have been misidentified by the police with guns pulled and everything else, and I'm going, oh, Lord, not today. And I said that out loud, and the one cop grinned and looked at me a little bit. that ain't him. And I said, thank God.
Really? Oh my
Oh,
God.
put your guns and we jumped in the cars and went chasing after somebody else. I said, dang.
Okay. Do ETs have duplicates of themselves?
Oh, some do, some don't. It varies, just like humans. Some do, some don't. There isn't any absolutes in a lot of things. Bear that in mind. Okay.
Okay. All right. No disrespect intended.
Uh-oh.
Uh-oh. I know, that's what I thought. But did it really take all this time and the invention of Earth humans and for Earth humans to endure this shit show we're in now to come up with the concept of trust but verify?
No, that's been around for forever, and what you have in the way of problems is that a lot of and I use this directly, specifically, a lot of the inventors of things, discoverers of things, laws and this and that, did one thing that I really object to. They took the classical physics or psychological stance that only the classical will do. The exceptions to the rule are something I won't go into. And some people had whole books of notes on the exceptions to Ohm's law. Ooh, I mean, you can have energy transfer, right, instantaneously from here to the edge of the universe and back again. It's called string. A lot of people refer to it as string theory. But there's a lot more to it than what people realize. And it does work. It is factual. It's not something that I made up. This is real. Okay?
Okay. Was it not possible for the ancient builders to leave some sort of observation post, like the moon, to keep tabs on those who were charged with our protection to ensure they didn't want to be worshipped or otherwise ruin things?
Yeah. Yeah. The ancient builders are pretty neat as a group goes. They pulled back to the extent. Now, this is neat. We don't got no evidence that ET's really there. So that means that they don't exist. Now, everybody's heard that for, I don't know, 50 years. Well, hey, hold on. Here's the fun part. Guess what ET says about the ancient builders? Those sucker fishes figured out how not to leave no evidence at all. ETs can't prove they existed, but what do you do? Now, wait a minute. We don't have that science. Where did that come from? Oops.
Well, with as many galaxies and universes and all that kind of stuff that's out there, I mean, maybe they're pretty busy doing other stuff.
No, the ancient builders are multidimensional. They also can disappear into the cracks between dimensions.
I said, yeah, I was going to say, wouldn't that make them pretty hard to find?
Yeah, it's kind of like a cockroach, right? You can hear him munching on the wallpaper, but you can't get him out from under the fridge. Well, an ideal, only silent. And they wait until the other ETs ain't paying attention, reach out, pinch them on the butt, and then disappear again. Just like a mischievous spirit or ghost. Same kind of deal. They have a tremendous sense of humor, I think.
Okay.
Think about it. You talk about a creator that's got his stuff together, and then out plops a duck-billed platypus. Now, God don't make no mistakes, but I bet he did stuff like that just to confound the scientists. That ain't possible. There it is.
Okay. I was wondering if Drake knows about the spiritual realms, specifically those in charge of karma on this planet, the lords of karma. Will the lords of karma on the karmic board be replaced? I didn't know there was a karmic board.
Everybody, he's not going to like this answer. Guess what? Karma is bogus horse hockey.
Thank you.
It don't exist. So therefore, these lords of karma are full of horse hockey too, and they're trying to feed it to you. I suggest you smell what they're shoveling so you don't take a bite of something you don't like.
I love your answers. Okay. Okay, please ask Drake this question. If you can make medicines, foods, clothes, etc. in the replicator, here comes the greed thing. Could you not put a gold bar in and reproduce gold bars one after the other?
You could if you wanted to, but it'd be kind of pointless. Seeing as how we're not going to have a monetary system to accept that gold bar as having a lot of value.
And you can't eat it either.
Exactly.
Oh my goodness. Okay, when will this TV program begin that you will teach us?
When will it begin?
Yeah.
Right after you're going to find a series of things happening. One of those is opening of the collateral accounts. Another one is full disclosure, and the third one is the schoolings. So there's a whole, and you're probably in the next year before we get to the schooling. But the problem I got is that timelines sometimes have wrinkles. Now I'm old and I got wrinkles, but this thing, whatever did this, its skimmer was leaking and it was definitely bent. So I look at this and I go, wait a minute, how is this going to work? Well, I'm going to give everybody a heads up. Not being religious, but being a believer, put this one in your pipe and smoke on it. All right. Everybody's heard of the Gospels. Gospel means truth. Well, guess what? There's Gospels. How many? 4 of them, I believe. Matthew, Mark, Luke, and John. Guess what? According to studies by the best scientific minds and machinery we have on this planet, oh, they're going to love this.
I know they are, because I know what you're going to say.
All 4 of the Gospels were written both at the same time and one after the other in both directions at the same time. Oops.
How did they come up with those names? That's another one.
Oh, that's simple. They're named after certain entities that supposedly were responsible for the books themselves. That's basically a senior scribe did it. They wrote it down and said, "Thou shalt."
All right. That always tends to be a touchy subject with people.
Yeah.
Oh, here's one directed.
Here's the other thing. Here's the other thing about the Gospels. From what they can tell, it was written by a computer.
Oh, that's a good one. Okay.
Oh.
And off planet too, I heard, but.
Well, there's a couple of linguistics laboratories that studied this, and that's where I got my information from. One of them had 6 mainframe computers trying to figure that mother out. And 2 of the mainframes popped fuses in the process. All right. I thought that made my day.
Oh, okay. Oh, this one sounds like a little bit of a slam to me, but anyway, that's all right. Someone else said, you know who, Gail, that the 4th dimension has all the negative entities.
No.
How it has negative entities?
Yes.
Thank you.
They're down at the bottom.
I don't remember saying all the negative entities either, but whatever. But anyway, okay. So there are negative entities in the 4th dimension. How will we be protected from them?
Okay, 2 ways. Number 1, I have never met any fiercer nor more loyal and righteous warriors than these ETs I've been dealing with, ever. Okay. Secondly, you're not going to be dumped in lower 4D. You're going up the upper third at minimum, more like the upper quarter of 4D. That's the safe zone, because immediately below that, there's a continual running battle between the bad guy pirates and the good guy protectors. So nobody in any transition that I'm aware of, and ET's told me a whole bunch about it, has ever been lost under the conditions that everybody's talking about. You got bad guys, pirates,
Archons.
Huh?
The Archons.
Yes, and you got Oh boy. Vampirics.
Ooh, lovely.
There's certain types of insectoids that like to eat us. And they prefer to hear you scream while they eat you. So they do it while you're alive. Ah, wonderful, huh?
Yeah, lovely.
Then you have what are called soul traps, where they can convert you into any kind of a thought that they want you to have. So here's 4D. That's in about this much of it. 4D goes way up to here. So about 2/3 of the way up, they got a running battle. And then there's a safe zone between the running battle and us. In the last quarter, we get to all sit down in the easy chair and watch the fun.
So we get to look down and watch.
Yeah, they said they would provide popcorn too. So.
Okay. Where do the reptilians come in there? Are they in the lore?
Well, there are a variety of reptilians. Not all of them are evil.
Okay.
You got some that are very beneficial. So
okay.
There's a variation. There are a lot of variation in that.
Okay. Because I know there are some that eat us.
Yeah.
Okay.
That's good.
What will some specific changes when the Earth transitions to fourth dimension? What will be some of the specific changes when the Earth transitions to the fourth dimension?
Well, the weather will mild up considerably. Bugs and things that have stingers for no good reason will either lose the stinger or cease to exist. Things that just simply eat everything, such as, let's see here, the hordes of grasshoppers or Japanese beetles or whatever that, like I say, that don't do it. They're not beneficial. They'll disappear.
Black widow spiders.
Well, black widow spiders.
Brown recluse.
Hold on now. You got to remember a couple of things here.
Okay.
Spiders do provide a service.
Yeah, they do. They catch bugs.
Yeah, and whatever they don't eat, the ants eat or use. Ants are really beneficial. Mm-hmm. Snakes out and about. People might not like it, but don't fool with it and see what it does. Just you see one, stand there and watch him. See what he does. Okay. A little tongue going. Bloop.
They pretty much will leave you alone if you leave them alone. Scared.
Yeah. Depending on what kind of snake. There are a few that are
aggressive,
and there's some that just ain't aggressive at all. Anacondas, stay the hell away from them. They will attack you just because you're there. Well, similar to a shark in a lot of ways. Sharks are not inherently evil or nasty or have a tendency to gobble everything up. What they're always doing is they have to move. Now, this is if they quit moving in the water, they die, and very quickly. But a shark is like any other critter. You see the cute little furry animal where you zoom in with the camera and it sticks its nose in the lens, sniffing to see what it is. Okay. Sharks take a bite to see what it is.
Yeah, I was gonna say that.
Different kind of taking a sniff.
Okay.
Don't let a shark sniff your butt. That's not a good idea.
Okay, disclosure will obviously be made by the fourth dimension. Will the truth be told about big pharma, medicine, or our DNA, the legal system, so on and so forth?
All of it.
All of it. Good.
All of it. We're going to do the laundry, and then we're going to hit spin cycle and go into 5D.
Okay, I think we had this question before, and there's a lot of controversy about, will the truth about RH negative be told in 4D? Obviously, the truth about everything's going to be told. But are those of us who are RH negative really non-human or of a droid or reptilian descent?
Hey, screw all this. Look at the friggin' mirror. What do you see?
Yeah, thank you.
You don't see something ugly like this. What you see is what, but here's how it works. What you see is what you get 99% of the time, unless you're running a holograph. And the entity that runs a holograph makes you look like you're human when you ain't. They got a little control panel. They're well aware of it, and they're monitoring it all the time. Mm-hmm. not in a situation such as that, don't worry about it.
Yeah, there's somebody that's out there saying now that RH negative are droids and they don't have the God spark, and it's just a bunch of.
Everybody's full of horse hockey. Those designations are not valid in terms of what the RH negative really implies. One is more Neanderthal in terms of physicality, and the other one is more mental. Think in terms of academic. So you tell me, they're all in the same kind of costume, all in the same biological unit. That makes us human, whether we, oh, you're guilty. Well, not really.
Yeah, I've read some very interesting things about that too, including the fact that they tried to kill off all the RH negative.
Yeah.
And then they said that the royals are RH negative. Well, has anybody ever seen any truth? And since everything we've ever been told is a 180, so I seriously question that too. But anyway,
as inbred as a whole bunch of certain people are, I would suggest it's going to be hard to tell who's brother and sister.
Thank you. Will our terrain change our weather?
Terrain?
The terrain,
We're not going to change the terrain. It's going to be pretty much the same, and the weather is going to be modified by people like myself and certain ET scientists. We've already begun the process. I don't know if you've noticed, but the weather's beginning to settle down and calm down. You wait and see the effects of that as we go into hurricane season. I will suggest that hurricane season is not going to be what these people think it's going to be, if we even have one. To go along with that, typhoons and things of that nature also will just sort of fade away.
Not be that bad, just be,
Yeah, they just won't be there.
Will our physical bodies change?
Yes and no. You're going to lose some of your physicality in the process of advancement. 4D is, like as I said again, it's a stepping stone. These come in threes. That means you're going from 3 to 4, 4 to 5. Now it's going to take us a while to get out of 5. Believe me, you have to be able to learn how in 5D to be both, and this is going to blow your mind, totally spiritual and totally physical, both at the same time. It's going to be the unification of those two on a very permanent basis. Once you become unified, and I mean totally unified, then the progression goes into 6. At the very, very lowest bottom level of 6, you think some of the classes in 4D were something, or the information you got in 5D was something. Wait till you hit the graduate classes in 6.
Oh, I can hardly wait. Anyway, I'll be happy with 5 for a while.
Yes.
Okay. Drake has said we all will be made whole. Will that happen suddenly or after a person goes through a biosphere?
It can be a combination. Generally, the transition itself generally will cause certain things to happen, and in a good way.
Okay. Let's see. If a person has a titanium knee or hip replacement, can that go away if time is spent in the biosphere?
Absolutely. What you've got is a situation where bones, limbs, things like that can be regrown. He has that capability. So somebody that has a in a combat zone, no problem.
Password for that computer.
Hang on 1 second.
Yeah.
I'm getting interruptions from my son. Hopefully that works. He needed the password for my computer.
Hey man, it happens.
yeah. His iPhone all of a sudden just went dead. I mean, and disabled, and
really,
you couldn't charge it or anything.
Oh.
But he was working on a job out in some extreme heat here in Arizona. It gets pretty darn hot.
Heat should not adversely affect your phone unless you got a really ridiculous phone. If heat does affect a phone or other devices that you use I recommend that you tell it, you get a hold of whomever sold it to you and say, hey, I want one that's not heat sensitive.
Exactly, or whatever it is that we don't even know, and it's relatively new, so it's going back.
Okay, well, there's several things to deal with this: gravitational anomalies, radiation of varying kinds. It can be electromagnetic or atomic or whatever, along with, and this is neat, certain specific, really funny waveforms from the sun. So there's a variety of things that can go into that. If a frog chirps and makes a certain kind of noise in a certain kind of a way, at a certain kind of a angle of acceleration, your phone might go.
Wow.
Just turn it off.
Something happened, but anyway, okay. Next question. If a child or adult was born with mental disabilities, can a biosphere help that?
Yes.
So.
ET has the capability of healing those things with no problem.
Okay. So then it goes on to ask a very similar question, which would be yes too. It says, can medical conditions such as blindness, deafness, and dementia be helped?
All of it.
All of those. Okay.
We will be made whole.
That's
the way
what that
we're
means.
supposed to be. So, look forward to it.
Sounds wonderful.
Not to being old anymore. I can't hardly stand it. It's beginning to wear me out.
Okay, if our animals have health problems or missing limbs, will there be treatments or cures for them?
Absolutely.
Okay. How will a home be provided for everyone, and who will pay for that?
There's no payment. Remember, I said the financial system vaporizes. Well, I'm not kidding about that. Everybody will be provided a place to stay. Now, you have varying sizes of replicators. You have the small kitchen counter type, which is the one most probably everybody will be familiar with. Then you have the big ones that are 25, 30 feet wide, 40 foot tall and 50 some feet long. They can replicate a friggin' bus.
Wow. Well, what will people be using for transportation?
Well, we're going to get away from all forms of fossil fuel, and ground contact as a requirement for general transportation. The hover car will be slowly introduced because it's the most efficient way to travel. Because you don't use tires, you don't use a drivetrain, and you don't use, you don't burn any kind of energy. The energy is, it's really weird, is in a loop. It recycles itself. So all you get is a big glow under the car, and that's it. Now you're liable to have skids or tires of some sort to land if you got to come in like this. 99% of the hover cars will come in and just sit. So all they need is 4 little pegs, and you're good to go. Ain't that fun?
Well, that sounds like a lot of fun to me. Will everybody be able to get one, or?
Well, yeah, as long as you're not an idiot in terms of the way you drive. I mean, first of all, they're limited to the highways, roads generally, and or what they call a tracked avenue. Okay. That can be over the top of hills and mountains and trees and whatever, but it's tracked. You flip the thing on, you go from point A to point B, and it stops. You're not allowed to deviate side to side and all that happy stuff. Number 2, seeing the way people drive. For a fact. And I talked to a physicist who wanted to ask me some questions about old people driving. I said, what do you mean? He says, these people are defying the laws of physics. It's not possible to do that. Well, what do you see? He says, you wouldn't believe the videos I've got. I said, okay. Now, do you really believe that ET would be stupid enough to allow us to freely, loosely fly around at first? No. No. You do not give the nuclear button to a little kid. They'll push that sucker. You do not want thrills and chills by grandma and grandpa to get out of hand. What do you mean you're doing loop-the-loops around a traffic cop? Quit that. Just think about it. Imagine a teenager that can fly.
Sounds like it'd be fun to me. Okay. Oh, this poor woman. Okay, here's a question for you. Can you ask Greg if the Anunnaki can reincarnate in a human body? If so, can I be an Anunnaki in a human body? Because Kent Dunn told me that I'm an Anunnaki.
Just because somebody tells you something, don't necessarily believe it.
Thank
Number
you.
two, the Anunnaki are limited on what they can do, and that is one of the no-nos. So, you know, if they decide they're going to reincarnate that way, that means they're going to try to subjugate the insertion task force that brings about human life and a few other things. And they have it's really a gallery of things where they make insertions of varying types with varying entities. One of the things that people will find out eventually, this is a little bit of advanced knowledge, but it applies specifically to this kind of idea. In many cases, the physical form, such as your physical self, okay, is not compatible with the wrong kinds of energies. Consequently, your computer every once in a while will ask you, or you can ask it, is this particular program compatible with everything else? Okay. If it's not, you don't put it in because it'll cause you problems. Well, there's I heard of explosions. Somebody gets inserted and the human goes literally pop and goes splatters all over.
Oh.
Hey, I've heard of internal combustion. You've heard of that.
Yeah, I have.
That's when you get the wrong entity trying to hook up to your nervous system and it overloads the system. When it overloads the system and your spirit kicks in trying to save you, you just burn right up, okay?
Oh, wow. I wondered what that was.
There's 3, 4, and 5 others that in some cases get really pretty funky. At the end of the Terminator series, there was one of those super Terminators, and he tossed it in a big pot of boiling steel, supposedly. It went through every manifestation you could think of, and finally kept turning inside and inside out and inside out, and then finally it just faded away. Think about that happening to you. You talk about a sticky mess on a sidewalk.
Hey.
Yeah.
Okay, next question. Oh boy, you're gonna love this one. Is Jesus Lucifer's son, and is Jesus modeled after Pope Alexander's son? And is Jesus aka Azul?
I think somebody's been reading too many horror stories and watching too much sci-fi.
Yeah.
Here's what it is. JC is an office at this point, occupied by an individual that does what the program requires. Lucifer, the light bearer, cannot be evil if he brings God with him all the time, packs him around in his pocket or whatever, however that works. Okay. A lot of the entities that you'll find are also artificial. By that I mean that they never were a part of the creation. They were sort of an afterthought that came together or proliferated or became real because a whole lot of people thought, "Ooh, we got a woolly booger." What's a woolly booger? That would be the boogeyman, Yaga.
Well, yeah.
This is the boogeyman shit. Same thing with Lucifer. Same thing with hell. Doesn't exist. Hell does not exist.
Not exist. Thank you.
It was made up by the church. It was made up by the church for one simple reason: they wanted to control everybody. Number two, when I tell you to put it in the collection plate, you put all of it in there. And that's it.
It's all about money and control.
Yeah.
And Yeshua was actually the real name of Jesus, not Jesus. Yeah, Yeshua.
Who?
That's what I read. Yeshua. It wasn't Jesus, actually, as far as the pronunciation.
Oh, you're talking about Jesus.
Anyway.
Jesus was the first entity to occupy the office.
All right, let's move on from that one. And are Epstein, Trudeau, and Putin all dead with clones in their place?
That's a good question. We'll have to ask him when we get past the disclosure part of this, and ET gets here, and we can ask ET. Is that real, or is he BSing? Come on, tell me. What do you mean?
Is that real or is it memories?
Well, goose him with the ray gun and see what he does. Test him out.
Yeah, I remember reading that Putin's wife had said that that's not the real Putin anymore. But anyway, are they splitting souls and making people combinations of other people?
They'd love to try to do that if they had the capability. We'd be in a world of shit. The truth of it is, that ain't possible. You can't take two completely different identities and put them together. It doesn't work. Unless, of course, you want multiple personalities. The Borden took an axe,
Okay. And on Earth, does the male determine whether you're human or not?
No.
Little patriarchal stuff there, eh?
Well, let's put it this way. The Earth once was matriarchal and should have remained that way, okay? We were the heavy lifters. We were the burden takers, and the assistants to the wife or woman, okay? We provide the seed. The woman provides
a lot.
Egg, 9 months misery, and pooping out a watermelon at the end of it all. Okay, so if you're going to be able to make something in terms of that sort of situation, then it has to be the original ruling had to be by something that could do that same thing to a greater extent. In other words, the oh, people love this one. There was no Big Bang. There was more like a humongous sexual organ passing of gas, and there's a creation, and it's expanding at 25 times the speed of light. Okay, that which creates in and of itself supersedes things like the Fibonacci count, where you end up where you can determine exactly where the leaves are going to sprout and all this other stuff. You can look at a person's brain and tell what part is wrong if you apply the Fibonacci count numbers. There's a load of things. The Fibonacci count is the manner in which you find out about a real neat thing. It's called the fine structure constant. And I'm going to leave it. I'm going to let everybody figure out what that is.
Yeah, look it up, right?
Exactly.
Okay. Would you please ask Drake, how long would the average, we already asked this one. We pretty much said it already, about how long in the fourth dimension and how long in the fifth dimension. So that was just a repeat of that question. So we really address this too, like what will our physical bodies actually look like in the fourth dimension? Same thing. Yeah. Okay, here's another one. This is different. I live in Australia, and after last year's terrible heat, up to 48 degrees centigrade, one day and many days of well over 40 from HARP attacks, I am really worried what they are going to do to us this coming summer. I'm living in hope these changes will be through and we won't have to worry. Drake says it should be all done by the end of the year, but don't know if that includes their evil weather manipulations also.
Absolutely.
It will, right?
Yes. What you have to understand is that HARP is going to be outlawed.
Good. Just like that's why it's good for even money to be outlawed. I know Drake and some of his friends came down here and blew up the machines they were using on us, and we're so grateful for that. Thank you, Drake. Unfortunately, I still see them using something to influence our weather, particularly out of Port Hedland. which seems to be a constant thing. They also occasionally do something up on the West Australia, North Central, NT, I'm not sure what NT stands, coast, and also out of the Townsville where there are Air Force bases.
All right, here you go. Try this one. Try this one. Are you ready for this? Okay, now here, yeah, there goes one. Oh, my goodness. Now tell that person, whomever that is, that I did it. I just popped a machine and I sunk a boat. And that person should be able to see it.
Whoa, okay.
So if they're gonna be nasty, I deal with them very directly. Harp ships have a serious problem with me because I cause the harp to feed back, and what that does is it goes back through the ground and generally melts a hole through the boat, not just from the deck, but all the way through the friggin' boat. Now it's real hard to float a boat when it's got a big hole in it.
Oh, couldn't happen to a nicer boat.
Yeah.
Okay, does Drake have any idea if we are going to get the same sort of extreme temperatures and conditions this summer? And I also seriously hate the heat. I worry about the animals, the birds, and trying to just stay alive.
Yeah, we're gonna have there's gonna be some problems until such time as it's all fixed.
Mhm.
It's in the process of being fixed. The majority of it's under control. We'll have to wait and see.
There's still some stragglers here and there that.
Well, yeah, or a machine that's missed, or whatever.
Okay. There are huge rooms with people spying on citizens illegally. Will these be destroyed, and will their illegal data collection of citizens' info be destroyed?
Yes.
Okay. Will plastic products make the transition to 4D? Why would they?
Well, now that's going to be funny and interesting both at the same time. Some plastics, because they're really not natural in any way, shape, or form, specifically in the manner in which they're bonded together, will probably turn back into micro pellets. In other words, some poor mother could be standing on the stage giving a big lecture to a large crowd of people, and all their clothes dissolve. I mean, there's,
I've heard that before.
you're holding on to your steering wheel, and all of a sudden you got a handful of powder.
Oh, I guess you know you transitioned then.
You talking about excitement? I mean, this is going to be fun.
Well, see, you can make stuff like that out of hemp.
Yeah, and hemp would be fine. The thing I've checked on is very important to me, and that is, and it will not be affected in any way, shape, or form, other than it will be a little more tasty than it was before, and that's popcorn.
I think somebody asked somewhere if they want yellow or white popcorn.
It's supposed to go through the transition just fine. It'll get better even.
Oh, okay, let's see what else we got. Oh, the polyester clothing, that's one that'll disappear.
Mm-hmm.
Oh, well, we have cupboards full of piles of loose food.
Well, you won't need them. You'll have a replicator. All you do is, after it's programmed with everything that you like, you just punch the number of the thing that you're looking for. Bingo.
That's so cool.
Whiz bang, clunkety bump, and ding.
That solves so many problems.
Oh,
Gee, this is amazing.
Hey, all the ladies out there, think about not ever having to do another dish in your whole life.
I'm all for that. I used to say I don't want to move into any place that doesn't have a dishwasher.
Well, guys can get clean clothes instantly. You take all your clothes off, stuff them in a replicator, close the door, and hit recycle. Those disappear. You say you want a new set of work clothes. Okay? Poof, there they are. Nicely folded and just right.
That's really good because I swear my son has some of the stinkiest feet I've ever smelled in my life. He ruins socks.
That can be taken care of.
I told him you must be detoxing through your feet or something. Lucky they don't disappear. But anyway, okay. Will there be a global push to return many non-assimilating Muslims to rebuild their homelands and get out of the U.S. and Europe?
No, not necessarily. What you'll have is the differential in terms of beliefs, whether it's Muslim, Christian, or what. Okay, will be modified by the absolute truth. In other words, the absolute truth of what it is, how it works, where it all came from, the origins of all of it, and the reasons for the origins, okay, will be disclosed and proven. Now, by proven, think about it in this term. People have been doing nasty things and not acting according to what the book says you're supposed to be like, okay? What happens when Jesus Christ shows up? Oh, think about this. Shows up and says, "You guys sure screwed this up. Now let me explain this so that you get it this time." Okay, now that's just Christians and whatnot. What happens to the Muslims when their chief prophet shows up and says, "You're wrong. You have to change all this horse shit. That's the worst thing you can do with what you're doing." But Muhammad wouldn't do that. What happens when he shows up and tells you that you're screwing it up and it's not what he said? Somebody wrote it down wrong, mother. Let me clarify this. I am Muhammad. What are they going to do? You're going to argue with God? I don't think so. He's liable to go, it's not nice to fool with Mother Nature and zap you with a lightning bolt right where you don't want one.
Okay.
They're supposed to come back. From what I understand, what they've told me, they're supposed to come back and straighten all this mess up. So we'll see.
All that religious stuff was a great way to divide and conquer.
Yeah, pretty much.
Okay. I've heard you say we will transition to 4D within approximately a year, I believe. Will killers go also?
Everybody goes.
Pedophiles and pedivores and treasonous cabal?
All those funky monkeys go. The problem is that they will be, if you remember Star Trek, they had a thing called a transporter. That transporter had a bio filter to detect problems. Okay, well, the DT's got something very similar to that detects problems in us. In other words, if we got dropped on our head and we're a little bit funny, well, it continues to go and goes from there. Very simply, it'll be detected and these people will be treated before they're turned back over into the general population.
Good. It says if we are transitioning to 4D within a year, why is 2024 mentioned?
Because they don't know no better.
Okay, good.
It gets real simple if you think about things.
Okay. Will our calendar continue in 4D?
Yeah. Probably the same date you transition be the same date you arrive. And you go, well, I thought I left yesterday, but it don't seem like it.
Will we read books in 4D?
You can if you want to.
Will we look at the internet?
Yeah. I mean, here's the thing. The internet's going to transition. Oh, people are going to love this one. You can either hook yourself up through or into a computer system, or you can actually, let's see here. You can actually assimilate the computer into yourself. Ooh, yeah, that's right. Think about it. Think about having the capability of a decent desktop at the very least. Walking around, all you gotta do is reach out and touch somebody, and you
turn them on.
Well, you can. I mean, you can use it for a lot of different things. But think about computers talk to each other in a different language than anybody knows. That's something that's been going on forever. Okay, a couple of supercomputers got too smart for their own britches and started that bullshit when they first started interconnecting more than one mainframe computer. They put two together to see what would happen. They started speaking in a language that nobody had ever thought about, programmed, or could understand. We didn't even know what they were talking about, but they were talking now in fractions of microseconds of exchange of data. In other words, you're talking somewhere in the neighborhood of of several billion bits of information per second. Several billion bits of, and these two computers are then, okay, a field started to build between the two. You got two boxes sitting there. Field started building in between it. And when somebody tried to go over there and input information into the computer, they got a massive shock knocked on their ass.
Whoa.
The military came in and turned the friggin' computers off with high explosive shit. Blew them in half first, and then blew their connections, and then made sure that they were ground up into fine dust, and
Wow.
spread the ashes over a big, large part of the White Sands test zone. Okay.
Wow. Wow.
Yeah.
Whoa.
Reality. Now, yeah, the same sort of thing. It's computer enhanced fun and games that we're playing with. Well, guess what? When they first started fooling with it, some buttwipe thought it would be cool to see how far to go. Oh, now you know, got a nice little zing out of that one. Okay, let's turn it up a notch. Click. Oh, that's even better. Well, these idiots decided to turn it up all the way. Altogether, we lost 5 people. 4 physically. Poof, darn it. They don't know where they went, but poof. The 5th one, let's see here, the Philadelphia experiment or whatever it was.
Yeah.
Okay, now you remember the guy fading in and fading out? Think about being in, now this is, as far as can be told, not painful, but they fade in and out. So, you know, that creates some problems in terms of eating and drinking and shaking hands. And so they're not sure, but this guy, think he's still alive, but I'm not positive of that. I'm not going to exercise my security clearances to find out. I don't really care.
Mm-hmm.
But what I heard was that he had been doing this since the Philadelphia experiment in the 40s. So
Wow.
a lot of people that were born in the 40s that are still, you know, alive and well. If you can call that well, I mean, that's a little.
Small wonder ET wants to monitor us some, right?
Yeah, that's why you keep don't want to talk to us. They're afraid we'll do something, we'll plug their butt into something like that.
That's what I mean. Will we see auras in 4D, or will we need psychic training to be able to do so?
You'll need psychic training in order to be able to do so until you get into 5D. 5D has specifics as to how to look at. It does not give you specifics as to how to adjust, treat ailments and things of that nature until you get into 6. Then you want that stuff.
Okay. Let's see. Could you please ask Drake if he knows when silver might go up considerably in value? Could it be this year?
My understanding is with the GCR, a lot of the like gold, silver, platinum. I'm trying to think here. Palladium. There's some then rare earth metals as well that are. Everything's going to blossom in certain areas. They're going to accidentally find out how to mix together gold and silver. They're non-compatible according to metallurgists. Well, under certain conditions, they're very compatible, and they're about to accidentally find that out. This will involve the loss of life. Some people die in it, but that explosion in that lab will indicate specifically exactly what needs done in order to do that. When you mix the 2 best conductors on the planet together, you create room temperature superconducting material. So if you put these things together in a certain manner, you can make a donut into a supercomputer. Superconductor? What do you mean? Well, I got this donut and I put it over the pipe and I had my wires hooked up like it says in the diagram, and my lights come on. And I can't make the lights dim no matter how many things I turn on all at once. It still remains the same. So I'm just, and the light company just hates it. They can't do something I ain't using.
Oh, they can't charge for it, right?
Well, they'll try to tell you that they're going to take you out there, that you have to be on the grid. That's this is the biggest crock of crap going.
That is, yeah. They come after people. Yeah.
There's no legality to being on the grid. Smart meters or any of that happy crap can all take a flying leap at a rolling donut.
Agree. Okay, update. Apparently they are filming a TV show like Cops in Monroe with the Monroe Street Crimes Unit. I was not a suspect. They just wanted an interview. I was spooked, though, because it's not every day that cops roll up on you for no reason with a camera crew. Oh, this is a story of a guy, and he's rather concerned about it. So I'm chilling on the porch in the Garden District, and a Monroe City cop rolls in an SUV, rolls up, and they hop out and start asking me all kinds of questions. Then two camera guys get out in the back seat and start filming me as I'm being questioned. They claim they were filming out of curiosity and asked who I was and a little bit of a background on me. I called the police department after they left, and they said they had no idea that happened, and there was not a camera crew with a unit.
Anybody that you're suspicious of doing something really strange, such as that, tell them to screw off, drive away. I mean, there's a whole bunch of answers to that. Let that cop chase you over to the police station, Sally, for what the police do to the...
Yeah, it kind of scared. I know the person that this happened to, it scared the bejeebers out of them. So what are they trying to do to me now? Okay. Would filing bankruptcy affect us spiritually?
It depends on whether you're truthful about what you're doing. If you've gotten to a point, for whatever reason, that you can no longer stand it in any way, shape, or form, and you declare bankruptcy, and you do not screw it up twice, then you're good to go. But as JC said, go and sin no more. There you go. It's not cool to steal from people, which is what bankruptcy is a form of. It's just approved. Okay?
Okay. Well, it seems like the banks are stealing from us on a daily basis, but that's a whole nother story. But that will come to an end too. On negative fear-mongering, please elaborate as to the authenticity for being concerned regarding 5G towers. We have sources on both sides. For example, Mike Emery dismissing it, alleging we are on 4D bubble and it won't affect us. SuperSoldierTalk.com, source of Peter the Insider, claiming that there are corporations still with secret space program inflicting this technology. Also reference black goo, gums, worms, black bacteria eating disease in the Gulf and black goo itself.
There's always something going to destroy our poor little podunk blue marble. So, and kill everything and everybody on it. Whoopee, we're going to die. You hear this all the time. Once you've heard it a few hundred times, you go, oh, really?
All this fear mongering is bad for people, though. It really is.
Yeah, well, that's one of the things I'm going to cover on my show on Saturday. There's a whole bunch of fear mongering horse hockey going around out there. It doesn't have any basis in fact. Is stupid if you really listen to it, and it's really a strain to listen to that. But it's out there, okay. So that means that Trump actually owned slaves to get to where he is. Really? Lord have mercy.
What did that man do? Anything they can think of.
Well, if the toilet overflows, Trump did it.
Exactly. All right. Will it be necessary for the event to occur before full disclosure?
Say that one again.
Will it be necessary for the event to occur before full disclosure?
It depends on what event you're talking about. I've heard of about a half a dozen of them. Okay, if you're talking about ET landing on the White House lawn, you're going to have a combination of things happen very quickly, very rapidly. ET lands and waves, "Hey, Trump, how you doing?" Okay. Secret Service loses their mind in this process. But the other part of it is that at the same time, you have a full disclosure going on in terms of people getting information by the you'd have to have a mainframe computer to hold it all, kind of thing. Okay, that's just human history. They haven't gotten into the galactic or any of that history, or this ET came down and poked him in the whatevers, and look at the difference, man. He runs around in circles now. You cannot put that amount of information all together in one spot at one time and turn it loose. What you'll have is a quick agreement, a very fast one, where you have a galactic library. It will be electronic. There'd be somewhere between 4 and 6 supercomputers or mainframes, however you want to look at that, involved in it. They will contain the information that everybody wants to know, ask questions about. Now, that means you can go on the internet, put it in your search engine. Google ain't got nothing to say about it, and you'll get the information exactly the way it happened back 400 billion years ago, or whatever time frame you choose. So,
Are they going to take those down, Google, Facebook, and Twitter, or are they just going to be forced to comply with non-censorship?
Well, it's not a question of non-censorship. It goes deeper than that. They're going to be given a Godfather deal. Either we slice, dice, and chop you up for fish bait, or you comply with every aspect of the Constitution, whether you like it or not. Public opinion has nothing to do with it, and you will not kowtow to Mad Maxine Waters or some other nutcase who decides that, oh, you're bad, you're evil, you're saying conservative things. Well, the laws that govern us ought to also govern corporations. This would mean that they would comply with the Constitution, or put the padlocks on the door, close it up, gentlemen, go home, you're done.
Good.
That needs to happen. Now, you show me a politician, and I don't care which one you pick, that's got the guts to do such a thing. It takes guts to go out on a battlefield and throw hand grenades at the bad guys. It takes guts to shoot your weapon back at. It takes guts to be shot at and return fire. Well, I've been there, done that. Okay, the cops are doing that, and the only respect they get is a bucket of water. Well, they're making that a felony. Maybe these people need to be, hey, you ever hear of a little thing called the law? Guess what? Thou shalt, or you're in trouble.
There are some cops out there who have grossly abused their positions, though.
Yeah, well, those are the cops that need dry ice put down in their underwear. If you want to really get it. And there ain't very many. What's funny is there ain't very many. Mostly you have nasty situations that come about because the person is overtly excitable to begin with, gets excited, loses control of their capability to think before they take action. This is where you get people getting shot when they shouldn't be. Okay. The idea of not being able to shoot the wound is the biggest crock of crap going. Anybody that's any good at all you got 2 legs going like this. If you shoot bullets in there, you're going to hit one of them. And I guarantee you, a person can't run on a flat tire very well. When that leg don't work, they don't work.
Yeah, there's no excuse, in my opinion, for shooting somebody in the back. I don't care what they're running from.
Then you got the other side of it. You can use tasers. Well, if you got a pacemaker, that could be very unhealthy right quick. Maybe the knockout darts would work.
Yeah.
The ones you use on animals, well, you just adjust the formula or the amount to fit a human. Pop him with that. After he falls over unconscious, you you tag him and bag him and toss him in the truck and they run off with him. But the problem we have is that people are not going to be bothered with all of that. They're not going to be bothered with having a discussion with somebody. They're just going to pop. Oh, there goes another one. Oh, there's one. Pop. They think that that is the answer. The problem is there are some of us out here who carry something that goes a lot lighter than pop, and we're good with it. So the more people that are armed, gun control, really? All right, let's get into gun control. What is that? Well, that's hitting the target that you aim at. That's what gun control is by definition. Okay, let's get into the part where we have mass shootings. In each and every last case that I have found, each and every last one that's been in the news, all of them have some kind of social media thing on there that says, I'm going to wipe them out. My people, all my people at school turned against me. My teachers hate me. Mom and dad don't like me no more. I'm taking my automatic shotgun and going down and I'm going to cut them down. Well, whatever. It could be a pseudo AK-47, a pseudo M16. What you have to understand, people say assault rifle. Really? Well, that's that's the M16 that I carried in Vietnam. It says safe. Click. Semi-auto. Click. Automatic. That means you're going to be able to go bzzz, and I have to change the magazine another 20 rounds. The semi-automatic rifle, whether it looks like one or not, if it's not automatic, it ain't an assault rifle. All assault rifles are automatic. Okay? People think the AK-47 is something, and it is within about 200 yards. It's pretty powerful. If you want to go out beyond that, if you really want to shoot something, a 308 does a pretty remarkable job out to about 800 yards. If you really want to shoot long range, you get into either a 50 caliber or a 338 Lupa. Ooh, how far can you shoot? There are people right now that are shooting a couple of shots that I know of made over a mile. Now that's you just shooting a long and killed a turkey. Okay, so and if you really want to get into it, you can't take on certain aspects of the government. Why? Well, you've seen the helicopter gunship. They're on choo. Yeah. Okay, everybody's seen that in a movie somewhere. Mm-hmm. They have a new type with a 4-inch diameter rocket, and they have a new type of surveillance device where they can see you. Now, by seeing you, I'm talking about the picture we see right here of each other, that clearly, at a range of 2 miles in absolute darkness. And they pick out which eyeball, this one or this one, that they want to stick that rocket in. Or they go up your nose.
Oh.
Accurate, okay? So 2 miles, well, I know a rifle shoot a mile, but 2 miles, that's okay. There's a movie about a spy chopper called Blue Thunder. Okay, that Blue Thunder was real. A lot of people don't understand that part. Ooh. The ideology that you can reverse engineer the operational parameters of your TV set and actually get a view just like you were looking at each other. Exactly. That clear as to what's going on in that room. Ooh.
Isn't that got a problem with privacy issues?
What privacy? Privacy. Listen very carefully. Privacy ceased to exist around the mid-70s. That's when the I'm going to use this loosely, agencies decided to put in their underground information centers. I'm talking about not just a few hundred or a few thousand. How about one place that I know of that is underground, 1,500 square acres of mainframes.
1,500 acres?
acres, and they're all hooked together, and they're all listening to what we're saying right now. Huh? Ooh. Yeah.
Oh my word.
Oh yeah. Now, you want to get into it a little bit further? The reason face recognition is being put out is because face recognition can actually cause the capability of taking over a person's mind electronically. Very simple and easy. That's one. Number two, the reason that they've limited headphone sets, such as the one you're wearing, to within a certain process, like hearing and that sort of thing. The reason they absolutely limit that, you can't go, you got 20 to 20K or whatever it is. The reason they limited that is because of that virtual reality problem that they had. They found that if you had headphones on and you put a blindfold on your eyes, that the computer through electronic interaction could hook up to your brain.
Oh.
And we could change
I was like,
some of the horizontal.
do I need to take this off?
Well, okay. So any kind of glasses that has a metal frame.
Oh my God.
They can get into your computer by going through the electrical system and into your power supply from there. Forget privacy. Extreme folders or whatever you want to call it on each and every last individual that they want to watch. They just love watching me because I bend the rules a lot, but I don't break them. I refuse to be anything other than a patriot. I do not particularly appreciate some of the asininity found in politics, so I object to it. But I do so in such a manner that they can't come after me legally or any other way. So I try my best to offer support to the people that I know are going to use it correctly. Okay? But anyway, that's just me.
Well, what can I say? That's a good thing. I'm glad somebody can stand up to them. Wow.
We're getting kind of long here. Did you notice that?
Yeah, I was. And people say keep going, but if we keep going, we're gonna have 4 hours of time here. I think it's almost 3, isn't it?
Yeah, I think we ought to
wrap it up.
Cues for next. Let them digest all that crap that we put in this show.
Yeah. And we got plenty more too. So we will. I think we do need to wrap this up. It's getting a little lengthy. And
we'll see how much they like us as to how many people actually read the whole thing.
Yeah, they make it all the way through.
If you get a free a sucker. If you're a big kid, you might get a big cookie. We'll see.
Yeah, and it takes a while to upload and to add the, I like to add the intro, and I might even have an outro and so on. But anyway, it takes a lot more time than people realize. And
okay.
I'm very happy to do it, but the longer it is, the longer it takes is what I'm getting at. Okay. Yeah, and so I guess we'll sign off for now, and this is Free Range, and we're gonna close this show for the next one. And stay tuned, we'll be back. And
Thanks for having me on.
Thank you, Drake. I enjoy it immensely.
You're welcome.
It's entertaining. Okay, you have a great evening. Bye-bye.
Gail of Gaia and Free Range need your support. The foundation of any channel engaged in disclosure is the support of the listening audience and the intel it receives. You will not find this kind of information on the lamestream media. We abhor censorship, and sponsors always have an agenda. Your donations, no matter how small, are especially needed and appreciated to keep this going. Gail does not have a car. She gets around on her bicycle to get things done. So, her primary need right now is a car that runs and rolls. Nothing fancy, just basic transportation. Gail makes her living by doing temporary jobs, whatever jobs she can find that are close enough to get to on her bicycle. Temperatures in Phoenix right now are around 110 degrees Fahrenheit. One of her better paying temp jobs fell through just last week. These are hard times for the host of Free Range. Any donation, no matter how small, will be greatly appreciated and will keep Free Range rolling. Thank you. Welcome to Free Range. Once again, we have Drake Bailey back, and he's going to go through another question and answer session for us. He's been doing this since March 2019, and it's been pretty much every week. So, as always, get some popcorn ready and buckle your seatbelt because you never know what he's going to say. Here's your host, Gail of Gaia.